Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're well. It's 9 a.m. Happy Friday. I think most of you are on Friday. I know a few of you are going to be watching at different time zones. So, whatever time of day it is that you're at, thank you for joining. It's so good to see you. All right. I'm just going to give everyone a moment to hop in here. As you guys see down at the bottom, there's the chat feature. So today, if you have anything to say, any questions, any thoughts that come up, please pop them in the chat, or you all have my email. So you can email me at any time. And as many of you know that today is actually a condensed version of what I usually do as a 4-part series on confidence. So we're going to cover a lot. Know that this is generally cut out into 4 pretty long segments. We've condensed it all for today. And so I hope that you've got some coffee. And if you are working and I am just in your AirPod, hello, thanks for letting me join your workspace. So we're going to be covering a lot of aspects on confidence. We're going to talk about both the aspects and then the barriers. So what gets in the way of us living confidently? So we're going to go at it from a behavioral perspective, cognitive, emotional, psychological, but also our community aspect. Our environment impacts how we live, how we operate. So we'll have a look through all of those lenses, and then at the end, we're also going to take a moment and just go through on how to use your confidence, to use your voice, hopefully for the good of others. We live in a wild world right now, and so we need more confident people living in any industry that you work in or live in, so that we can actually use that strength for good. So a side note about today, this is not a like self-help, nice like pop culture personal development session. Good on you if that is what you love to do, but we're going to be going at this idea of confidence based on scientific, evidence-based research. So this is not just an opinion session or curated things that I found on Instagram. It's best practice evidence, scientific evidence from cognitive, behavioral, psychological performance research. So be patient as we go about today. I hope that you're taking notes. Today will be recorded. And if you would like access to that recording, I'm happy to send that to you. Just reach out to me. But know that today is going to be more like small shifts that over time can lead to some major progress in your life. And so I don't know what your experience is with psychology, but understand that it is not a fix-it program. You don't come to one session and a psychologist fixes you. We actually don't fix anyone. What I can do is I can give you the research. I can help you to break down what it is that you're looking at and increase your understanding so that you can then have some tools to be able to head in the direction that you want to go and be who you actually are. I love to operate from this notion that we are holistic beings. We are spirit, soul, mind, body, and all of those need to actually be strengthened for us to move forward in any area. So I hope that you pull some nuggets from that today. For those who don't know me, I am so glad that somehow we found each other. I am a sport and performance psychology specialist. I live in San Francisco, California, which I am biased, but I believe it's the best city on earth. I work with a number of competitive athletes at the club, collegiate, and professional level, working on mental skills training. I am also beginning to work with more entrepreneurs, business leaders, and really anyone working to improve their performance or the performance of their team by using mental skills training. And so I'm really excited that you're here today. Good for you for spending time to invest in yourself. I do believe you will see fruit and progress from that. So let's jump right in. There's going to be 3 main segments, like I say, with that ending segment on how to use your voice for good. So behavioral, cognitive, and community aspects and barriers to confidence. So behavioral, what is that like? That's like talking about things that bring momentum, things like goal setting, things like communication in our life. The cognitive aspect, so this includes anything in the mental realm, also the emotional realm, psychological aspects, things like your trust instincts, perhaps a fear of losing, or this idea of giving yourself permission to win. And then heading into community. So this is your environment. So we're going to look at healthy versus toxic environments. We're going to look at your support system. We're going to look at confidence building and also confidence bursting people. We all have both types of people that we come into contact with. And so we're going to talk about how to navigate those situations. And then, like I say, that fourth segment on using your voice for good. This is anywhere from your inner voice, what you're saying on the inside, to your outer voice as a leader or beginning to be recognized as a leader in your field. So we'll talk about what confidence is and what barriers can get in the way. And within that, let me start to break it down. This is what confidence looks like when you're coming back from an injury or a setback, which is super hard to have confidence in. The power of giving yourself permission to win. I think a lot of us can be our own worst enemy sometimes, and not allowing ourselves to kind of recreate ourselves and step into a new season of our life with more strength. So learning how to believe in yourself, how to trust your instincts, how to overcome adversity, things like emotional control can all play into our level of confidence. A massive one is focusing on the present. So many people have extremely high levels of anxiety and low levels of confidence because we spend too much time in our mind focusing on the past, maybe reliving a mistake, and perhaps even spending too much time in the future. So thinking too much about where we're going and missing the moment right now. And so I want to encourage you for the next hour as we unpack this, begin to practice that one point. Focus on the present. What are you thinking right now? What are you feeling right now? What are you hearing right now? And just be here. There's so much power in being present. We're also going to touch on this incredible power of accepting responsibility. I love this one because it makes it manageable. It means that we can actually control and change the things that we think, which impact what we feel, which then impacts our physiological responses and our actions. And so just accepting responsibility for our own lives can actually add so much confidence to ourselves. We're going to talk about handling pressure, knowing your strengths, living 100% life, and learning how to balance your time and your energy so that you can be as confident as you possibly can. We're going to also touch on how to lead with confidence when you're not the key player. So some of us, we can think because I'm not the most well-known or I'm not the loudest in the room, that means that I can't lead or I can't be confident. And that's actually not true. From a scientific standpoint, you can lead from any aspect of your team, of your company, of your friendship group, of your support circle, of your community. You can lead with confidence no matter if you are a key player or what you might consider a background player. Leadership happens from every level. So I hope that you enjoy today. And I want to ask you to start off. What is confidence? What do you know about confidence? The truth is that confidence is a thought. So many of us treat it like it's a feeling, but in reality, it's a thought. And it comes from this being comfortable in who you are. Are you comfortable with who you are right now? Are you comfortable with what you're doing? Are you confident in that and believing in your abilities and believing in your choices, believing in the direction that you're headed? These are all thought-based elements of our lives. And so these thoughts affect our emotions, which, like I say, lead to our actions. Confidence is a thought, which means you can choose it, you can change it, you can develop it. And a word you're going to hear a lot today is self-efficacy. So this is simply your belief in your own ability to succeed in a particular situation. So I don't know what situations that you're facing today, perhaps at work or practice or with your team, but do you believe in your own ability to succeed in that situation? The research says that people who have higher levels of self-efficacy and confidence outperform those with lower levels in any type of situation. So this isn't about just feeling good. It actually, how we think, how we feel impacts how we perform. So higher levels of confidence are going to also lengthen the amount of time that you'll be able to persist when you're faced with difficulty. So we are in September 2020. Globally, everyone has faced setback and difficulty this year. How long can you persist in that? If your confidence levels are high, and it's a thought, remember, if your self-efficacy is high, then you're actually going to be able to persist longer than people who have low levels of confidence. And so remember, like I say, if questions come up throughout, pop it in the chat, and I will get to it at the end or as we go if it will help the moment. So take a moment right now, right where you're sitting, and just identify areas that you're lacking in confidence. What area of your life do you feel a lack of confidence? Maybe it's with a thing you're facing at work or with your team. Can you identify why? Perhaps there's fear there. And what's cool about science is I love that it tells us these unbiased viewpoints. And what we know from the research is that you can be both confident and scared at the same time. So don't discount yourself just because you're scared or you sense fear. Confidence and being scared can coexist. And sometimes we think that the mind can't handle this dichotomy. It can. We have been given an incredible mind to be able to move forward confidently despite how we feel. In other words, fear doesn't need to hinder you from also being confident. It can be scary and you can be confident. So we're going to have a look to start off, just so you know where you're at with your confidence. We're going to do a little assessment. If you have a piece of paper or on your computer, we're going to go through a variation of what is Veely's Trait Sport Confidence Inventory. So it's called the TSCI assessment. And I've adjusted this a little bit to fit the population that I work with Kelley Castle Health. And so, but what we're going to learn is just, we're going to measure the degree of certainty that you possess about your ability to succeed. That might be in sport or in business or in other arenas. So what I want you to do is I want you to compare your confidence in your ability to execute the skills necessary to be successful to the most confident athlete or business person that you know. So think of someone in your industry, your area of life, maybe a peer that you have, or someone that's a little further down the track, the most confident person that you can imagine. And that's going to be 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. You're going to rate yourself on 13 questions on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is almost never, not at all, super low, or non-existent. And 10 is as confident as the most confident person you know in your field. So 13 questions. 1 is almost never or very low. 10 is very strong, very confident. Number 1, confidence in your ability to execute the skills necessary to be successful. Are you confident in your ability to execute the skills? Give yourself a number between 1 and 10. Number 2, confidence in your ability to make critical decisions during competition. Confidence in your ability to make critical decisions. 1 would be low confidence, 10 would be high confidence. I'm going to pop these in the chat as well so you guys can just look at them if you want. Number 3, confidence in your ability to perform under pressure. Confidence in your ability to perform under pressure. Those are a little crammed together, but I'll do them one at a time. Number 4, confidence in your ability to execute successful strategies. So you got a strategy coming up. Do you believe that you can execute that strategy? Number 5, confidence in your ability to concentrate well enough to be successful. So do you believe that you can concentrate? Number 6, confidence in your ability to adapt to different game situations and still be successful. So can you adapt? Number 7, confidence in your ability to achieve your competitive goals. Do you believe in your ability that you can actually achieve the goals in your life right now? Number 8, confidence in your ability to be successful. Let me put those in here. Number 9, confidence in your ability to be consistently successful. So can you be consistent? Number 9, on a scale of 1 to 10. 10, absolutely yes. 1, not really consistent. Number 10, your confidence in your ability to think and respond successfully during competition. So some of these have some overlap. Can you think and respond successfully? 11, confidence in your ability to meet the challenges of competition. So no matter what the challenge comes, you believe that you can handle it. Number 12, confidence in your ability to be successful even when the odds are against you. Number 13, last one, you guys are doing great. Confidence in your ability to bounce back from performing poorly and be successful. So all of us have been there. We didn't do a great job. How quickly can you bounce back? That has a lot to do with our confidence. So add up your scores, give yourself a total. The lowest score would be 13, the highest would be 130. And what is your score? Is your score surprising or different than you expected it to be? Once you know that score, I want you to think about over the next couple of days where you're hoping to be on that scale by the end of 2020. So if you're at a 60 and you want to get to a 90, then that's where performance psychology can come in. We can put strategies around that in order to help you get to your goal. So misconceptions about confidence. I want you guys to get this first before we go forward. 5 common misconceptions that I come across all the time. Confidence, either you have it or you don't. That's a misconception. It's actually not inherited. It can be changed by training, practice, and experience. It's not an accident or a random genetic occurrence. I'm just going to enjoy some of my coffee because it's still morning here in San Francisco. Confidence, you do have control over it, and it's a thinking process. Second misconception about confidence is that only positive feedback can build confidence. Sometimes people think of sport and performance psychology or self-talk, and they think it's all about just saying positive things, and I'm going to ignore all negative things. That's actually not the case. Positive feedback, yes, it can absolutely help build confidence. But the way our brain works is that criticism, sarcasm, negative comments, they can also be interpreted by our brain as stimulating challenges, and we can use them to build confidence. So no matter what is on your plate right now, be encouraged. All of it can be used to build confidence in your life. Instead of being mentally destroyed by those negative things that are coming your way right now, you can choose to respond by reinterpreting the comments in a constructive way or use other active strategies to combat them and actually gain confidence. So anything can be used essentially to build confidence. But Absolutely, yes. Positive feedback can help build confidence. Don't throw it out the window. Third misconception of 5 is that success always builds confidence. Some people think that success breeds success. While this might be the case sometimes, success does not always breed success. We see it all the time. You see people that are at the top of their game in one level, and then they transition to the next level. Maybe they go from college to pro, or maybe you switch careers and you're in a new industry, and you think because you're at the top of your game in one level that that's going to carry over, but it may not carry over. Success doesn't always carry over in every level or every industry. Some athletes or people at the top of the game may be extremely successful at one point, and then what can happen is that success and how they view it, it can turn into a form of pressure which they can't seem to escape. They feel pressure from this expectation upon them because they were successful before. I heard Steve Kerr, coach of the Warriors, talk once, and he was saying the hardest thing is actually to coach a team that's just won a championship, because that success turns into incredible pressure. Now there's this expectation on you to be perfect, and the reality is that no one is. There are some people who are extremely successful and can only manage to remember their failures. So in your eye, you're seeing 99 successes, and in their eye, they're only looking at their one failure. And so this approach also can tear down your confidence, because you're focusing on your weaknesses, and it can hinder you from actually achieving more success. So success is limited by our level of confidence. Confidence impacts success more than success impacts confidence. So sometimes we think if I succeed, I'll have more confidence. But while that can help, it's actually a stronger support for the other side that says confidence impacts success. Another one is competence. People think that if you're competent enough, that success will automatically happen and guarantee confidence. But just because you're competent in an area does not mean that you are confident in an area. This lack of confidence is, I find, often rooted in this illogical and irrational nature of the human mind. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that later on when we get to the cognitive aspects and barriers to confidence. So let's unpack the rest of these misconceptions. I want to mention this. Many people succeed more than they fail, but then focus on the failure, and it puts them in a downward spiral of confidence. So I want to ask you this morning, what are you focusing on today? Right now, in this moment, as you're sitting, standing, walking, what are you focusing on? Is it the failure, or is it the success in your life? Is it the amount of mistakes, losses, or hurdles, or difficulty that you're in? Or are you drawing strength and optimism from focusing on your successes? What is going right in your life? If you have a pen or are able to take notes here, I want you to write down 2 to 3 things in your life right now that are going well. What is going well in your life? You've got to have a discipline and mentally train yourself to be able to remember that, to be able to visualize that success by remembering it, and have that be what's playing in your mind. Another misconception about confidence is that confidence equals outspoken arrogance. There was a question that came in yesterday. I emailed all of you and said, write me back with questions. And I loved hearing from you guys. And so I want to encourage you, if you didn't get a reply, it's not too late, send it in, and I would love to reply to you at some point in the next day or so. And so the question was this: there's a tension between being confident and this whole flex culture we live in. How do I navigate that? How do I be confident but not be like flexing all the time and trying to impress someone else? So long as our confidence is on impressing or trying to change the opinions of others, which we can't do, the research says that we will actually lose confidence because we're trying to control something that's actually out of our control. We can't control the opinions of others. We can't control what they think of us. So whenever we do this, we're placing our confidence on something external. And what happens is our confidence wanes. So while flex culture might be the norm, and it's normal for people to kind of promote themselves and try to impress other people, it gets exhausting, by the way. While it might be the norm, think about this. Depression is also the norm, unfortunately, right now. Anxiety and low levels of confidence are the norm. All of that is connected, and there's nothing wrong with speaking confidently about yourself. I encourage you to do so, but it comes down to our motive, I think. Are we saying or doing these things to earn their approval? So placing our confidence on something external rather than internal? Or are we saying and doing these things in order to be more of who we believe that we are? If that's the case, that's incredible. But if we're saying and doing things in order to try to show off to other people, then we're going to be on an endless journey of spiraling confidence. So know what your motive is. Know what your motive is. Begin to learn. If you aren't already on that journey, begin to learn who you truly are, because confidence comes in knowing who you are, whose you are, and out of that, you get to know what your strengths are, where you're headed, where you want to go. These are valuable, strong, and you have unique talents that you need to remind yourself of in the middle of this time. So walk confidently in who you are. Recognize that you're uniquely talented, that you're hardworking, that you're persistent, strong, capable, overcoming people, and proving that or trying to prove that to someone else doesn't make it more true. Some people that are confident are a bit brash, but many have an equally powerful confidence that looks more like a quiet confidence. Some examples are Tim Duncan, Peyton Manning, Missy Franklin. You can be confident on the inside and still be a kind human. You can be confident without being considered conceited or arrogant. It is possible. Last misconception here, I'm giving you 5 about confidence, is that mistakes inevitably destroy confidence. Sports are played, lives are lived, and businesses are built by imperfect human beings who often make mistakes. And it is the people who understand that and still move forward that tend to be higher in confidence and go further in their success. Too many people selectively attend more to the mistakes and errors, which are inevitable for anyone doing anything worthwhile. And they ignore the successes along the way. They think that these mistakes are the end of the road, when really they're just what happened today and right now. But that by no means means that success and confidence is not possible. You can actually build confidence despite failures by doing the opposite, selectively attending more to whatever small improvements and positive experiences that have occurred, while at the same time examining and looking at what went wrong in a constructive way. So I'm not saying ignore the mistakes, focus on the good only. I think there's a time and a place to constructively look at what went wrong, but make sure that it's constructive. I also encourage you to put that into a particular time of the week that you do that, so that you're not always correcting yourself. We've got to have moments to coach and moments to just say, I'm focusing on the good right now. Confidence results from how you think, what you focus on, and how you react to the events in your life. So, set 1, behavioral aspects and barriers to confidence. Reminder, this is all based on research. This isn't pop culture, great ideas. All of these come out of research, behavioral aspects. What are the behaviors of confident people, and what behaviors get in the way of cultivating that confidence in our lives? One is goal setting. Goal setters are more confident. If you think about the opposite to that, that's like a barrier. So a barrier to confidence would be guessing where you want to go, working maybe only when you feel like it, or quitting when it's hard. Another aspect of confidence, a behavioral aspect, is a strong work ethic. On the flip side, a barrier to that confidence would be working when you feel like it, quitting when it's hard, and not actually reaching your potential in that. Within that work ethic is a strong sense of self-discipline. So not forced on you by someone else. So a barrier to that confidence would be no routines. People who are self-disciplined often have very strong routines. Recognize that and maybe look at what's an area that you could increase your effectiveness with a better routine. What do you do in the morning? Do you wake up at the same time of day? Do you put healthy food into your body? Do you make sure that you're having at least one positive phone call a day? All these things about self-discipline and have to do with routines. Another aspect, behavioral aspect of people who are confident, like I say, there are people who have self-discipline, but they're also self-managed. So when you are going for a goal, is someone else required to push you, or do you push yourself? Do you need someone else to push you to your limits? Because if you need someone else to push you to your limits, your confidence is actually going to be hindered. The more that you can learn to manage yourself and push yourself, you will begin to increase that self-efficacy, increase that confidence. And as you do that, what's awesome is this next point: high levels of enjoyment. People who are confident, they enjoy what they're doing. And it actually doesn't matter so much what the actual task is. They find a way to enjoy it because that is who they are. So how do you enjoy life? Enjoy what you're doing, enjoy what you're going for when it takes hard work? Well, go back to being present, remembering what you're grateful for. If we are not present, if we're living in the past or we're living too much in the future, and we are not grateful for this moment right now, it's going to get in the way of our confidence. Next one, solid enthusiasm. So what gets you excited? Begin to bottle that up and put that into more activities in your life. People who are confident are enthusiastic. Some people say fake it till you make it. I think begin to shift your thoughts around what it is that you're grateful for. Many of you guys know my husband and I, since the day that we started dating, our very first date, he said, as we're on a walk, I want to hear 3 things you're grateful for today from the past 24 hours. And I at first thought it was a little intense for a first date, but to this day, we have not missed one day, except for I think New Year's Eve, which is ironic. But we share 3 things at the end of every day that we're grateful for from the past 24 hours. So it's not old news. We're actually being present, looking at right now. And then one thing we're looking forward to in the next 24 hours. So maybe that's something that you can do. People that have this habit, over time, you will be more enthusiastic, you will enjoy life more, and you will be more confident. Next one, good communication skills. This includes good eye contact. I know that this is hard in the life of Zoom, but as much as possible, try not to check your phone, maybe when someone's speaking to you on a screen. If you don't have time to meet with them, communicate that, tell them that. But don't try to multitask. While they have given you their time, their most precious commodity, people who are good at this communication about eye contact, about not looking away, but looking right at the people that they're trying to communicate with, they are more confident. These are the behaviors of confident people. So a barrier would be to be unclear in your oral communication, maybe your written communication and your emails. Sometimes we can get lazy because we send so many emails. I encourage you, don't get lazy in it. Confident people are great communicators, and your emails and your body language all say something about your communication and your confidence. Attentive listening. Confident people know how to listen. Note here, confidence doesn't mean speaking a lot. So some people think if I'm going to be more confident, I need to talk all the time. That's actually not the case. You need to understand that confidence can look quiet. That's okay. Often the people that are the most confident are better listeners. So the flip side of that, a barrier, behavioral barrier to confidence, what's going to get in the way is interrupting, maybe talking more than you're listening. Or how many of us do this? We try to think of what we're going to say while the other person's talking. I encourage you today, when you're listening to people, try not to think of your response. Let them talk, just listen, and let them finish talking before you jump in. Momentum. People who behave in a way of momentum are gonna be more confident. So if you look at people who are maybe stuck in a rut in their ways, they're just trying to recreate what was in many different forms. I find this in 2020 a lot. People are trying to go back to what was and just change it slightly so that it works for a screen, when in reality, it's actually a sign of not being confident. Confident people are willing to change what they are doing to not be in a rut, because it's going to lead to momentum. It's going to lead to confidence. So if you're stuck in a rut, if you're doing the same thing repeatedly, particularly when it's not working, then confidence is going to lower. This is also known as cockiness. I put this on my social media, the difference between cockiness and confidence. And cockiness is when we're doing the same thing over and over and we are not willing to admit that it is not meeting our goals and change things. Confidence is actually being able to look at all the facts and change what's necessary, because we're always learning, always growing forward. It has to do with that growth mindset. Set two, the cognitive aspects and barriers to confidence. So we talked about behavioral. We're going to move into the second portion of cognitive. So this involves anything mental, emotional, psychological, all these aspects of our confidence. And so what thoughts, what emotions, what psychological skills make up confidence? On the flip side, what cognitive barriers or what thought patterns and feelings do you find hinder your confidence? A big one, and I love this one, is trust instincts. People who are confident, they have a trust instinct. They are willing to trust themselves. In a sense, trust your gut. That doesn't mean that they don't prepare, but once they have done their preparation, they trust their instincts. So the barrier on the flip side to that would be doubting yourself. It's going to get in the way of confidence. Next one, giving yourself permission to win. We talked about it earlier. Perhaps you're holding yourself in this old mindset or an old view of yourself, and you can't seem to give yourself permission to win in an area that you've continually lost in. And this is a big one, because I think people, we tend to look back and say, because I lost there once, I'm going to lose there again. And it's like we have to learn to give ourselves permission to start over, permission to win, permission to reinvent how you view yourself in an area. And that takes practice. It takes a very strong ability to stay focused on the present. So not looking to the past. Leave it there. Once you have looked at it, learned your lessons, be present. not spending too much time in the future. Now, I am all about goal setting. I take every athlete and every person I work with through a goal setting session, which I love. And it talks about breaking your outcome goals, your big goals, down to small process goals that if you just focus on that, you will get to where you want to go. But if all of our focus is always on the future, then our confidence is going to lower because we're going to be comparing where we're at today. And instead, you've got to begin to believe in yourself as you are present today. Next one, this is a cognitive aspect. We brought it up a little earlier about accepting responsibility. Now, understand that there are absolutely situations where it's not your fault and people have done things to you that hurt you. And you cannot control that, and you don't need to take responsibility for someone else's actions. But we are all responsible for where we sit today, our emotional response, our mental response of where we go from here. And when we stay in a place of blaming other people, what that begins to do is it doesn't hurt them. When we blame other people for something, it will only hinder our confidence. So I want to put strength into you today and say, accept responsibility. You have everything that you need to move forward in the direction that you want to go. Next one, a cognitive aspect of confidence is verbal persuasion. So all that means is, what are you saying to yourself? What are others saying to you that's going to build your confidence? If you don't have people around you that are building you up and saying encouraging things to you, build those people into your life. If you're not saying it yourself, begin to change the way that you talk to yourself. It's like you've got to become, all of us have to do this. We have to become our own best friend and our own greatest coach. So let me ask you this. Right now in this moment, what words are going through your mind right now? Okay. And what's one thing you'd like to tell yourself as your own greatest friend and your own greatest coach? Not looking to anyone else to be that coach for you. What would you tell yourself as your own best friend, as your own greatest coach? There are so many ways to use self-talk. Positive self-talk can be used to maintain behavior, change bad habits. It can help you with attentional control and being able to focus. It can change moods and emotions. And at some point down the line, I definitely want to do a webinar. We'll make it free on a Friday about self-talk, because it can have such an impact on building our self-efficacy and our confidence. And it helps us to actually reimagine these irrational and distorted thinking patterns. And as we utilize positive self-talk, we can reframe our understanding of situations that we're experiencing right now. Next one, imaging confidence. Notice I didn't say imagining, because I'm talking about imagery here. So not just visualization, not just closing your eyes and saying, what do you see? I want you to use every sense that you have in your body. So visualization, what does it look like? But also, what does it sound like, smell like, and feel like to be confident? Use all your senses to imagine that. People who use imaging in their life and imagery, they are more confident. So the barrier to that on the flip side would be, you can use imagery to imagine yourself being unconfident. How many of us have done that? Flip that around, begin to imagine yourself being confident. What does it feel like? Even right now, pause for a moment. What do you look like as a confident person? What do you sound like? What do you feel like? The next one, cognitive habits, aspects of confidence. These are learning to capture your feelings and articulate and communicate them. For some people, this is very uncomfortable. I think we are in an age where mental health is being a little bit destigmatized, which is awesome. But I think we have a long ways to go in being able to articulate and communicate our feelings. We don't always know how to articulate them for many reasons. Perhaps it's the culture that we grew up in, and we've been encouraged to suppress or deny feelings. But the research shows that people who are able to articulate and communicate their feelings and kind of capture them, they can then begin to change them and they will become more confident. When we deny it and suppress it, it doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means we have no control or involvement with those feelings. And so I want to encourage you, find the safe places to articulate and communicate those feelings. It might be in a journal to start with and no one else hears, or a voice memo. But then moving forward, who are 1 to 2 people that you can trust with those things so that you can begin to articulate them and kind of get them out on the table and then work with them, begin to restructure them. You got to learn to be open and honest. People who are open and honest, first with yourself, are more confident. That being said, what happens when you're open and honest is your awareness increases of who you are and where you're at, what your emotions feel like. And when it comes to life decisions, sometimes people make big decisions when emotions are high. But people that are confident, they know how to wait for the emotions to settle before making those big decisions. So a barrier to confidence on the flip side would be making decisions in heightened emotions. As you become more aware of who you are and your level and state of emotion, maybe put a pin in some decisions and come back to them later once your emotions have evened out. And you're going to end up making wiser decisions, which are also going to make you more confident. Next one is drive, motivation. People who are confident have drive. They've got the energy to go for it. They are actively seeking out their goals. So what are you going for? Perhaps you've given up on some of the things that you were going for 6 months ago or moving towards. I want to ask why? What is it that set you off course? Because if you're going to head in that direction, you're going to need confidence, you're going to need motivation, and all of these things are going to play into your level of self-efficacy, which ultimately impact your performance and what you're able to produce. People who are confident think on what they can gain. This is the next one. Think on what you can gain rather than on what you can lose. So for instance, if you're thinking about what you can lose, perhaps your thinking is more based around losing playing time or losing time that you could have spent elsewhere while you were training and preparing for something that you're going for. So you're thinking about what you're losing rather than what you're gaining. If you want to be confident, you've got to learn to move your thoughts around what you can gain. Cool? I hope you guys are doing well. This is the biggest portion of today, this cognitive aspect, because it has so much to do with our mind, which impacts our confidence. Because why? Because confidence is a thought. So take a deep breath. If you've got some coffee, have a sip. I'm going to join you in that. Barrier to confidence. How many of you are a perfectionist? So you are aiming for perfection in everything that you do. People who are confident are not worried about perfection. They are aiming for excellence. So I want to encourage you, whatever it is that you're working on, do not worry about perfection. The perfect moment never comes. Excellence is what confident people aim for. Focus on your successes. So what have you succeeded in the past 6 months? If you've got that piece of paper or taking notes, write 1 or 2 things down. What have you succeeded in? Remembering this is what's going to increase your self-efficacy and your confidence. Don't just stay stuck and replay a mistake over and over. Begin to switch your mind around your successes. If you find yourself replaying those mistakes, I want to encourage you, stop the thought. People who are confident know how to point negative thoughts out, stop them in their tracks, and begin to replace them. So we actually can't just empty our mind. Being mindful and present is not just about emptying your mind, it's about filling it with the present moment. You might need to replace a negative with a positive every 5 minutes for the next 24 hours in order to become confident. But I encourage you, do the work. Remind yourself as you do this of the work that you put in. People who are confident remind themselves of the work that they've put in. So an activity I want you to do sometime today or this weekend, take a piece of paper and I want you to write down all the work that you've put in this season that's taking you closer to where you want to go. Write down everything that you have done to put in work. And show yourself that you are actually ready for this. It's easy to forget all the things that you've put up, that you've put into what you're going for until this point. But preparation actually builds confidence. But you have to remember that you have put in the preparation. And lastly, the cognitive aspect is building your confidence, like I said earlier, on internal factors. If you want to destroy confidence, place your confidence and identity and make it dependent upon external variables. People that don't have a strong sense of identity have incredibly shaky confidence. If we're looking for our identity, our value, and our confidence in something external out of our control, another person, a situation, then we're on a downward spiral and destroying our confidence. So build your confidence on what is in here. Keep understanding who you are, whose you are, what goals you have, and then begin to go confidently in the direction of those dreams. Set 3, community and environmental aspects and barriers to confidence. Community and environmental aspects and barriers to confidence. So who and what is around you? Think about it right now. Who's in your life? Who's surrounding you? What kind of environment are you in? What kind of team culture do you have? What kind of company culture do you have? I asked on Instagram earlier this week if people could just describe what makes them effective. And many people wrote routines, planning ahead, commitment, that was a big one, or even sleep, getting a good night's sleep. Hello? It makes us more effective. My favorite one, though, was probably one that was sent in, and they just said adaptability. This ability to change is what they believed made them effective. And I agree with that. Here's the thing. Your community impacts your confidence and your effectiveness. Like it or not, who you spend your time with is going to impact your confidence and effectiveness. So let me ask you, same thing I asked earlier this week. What do you believe makes you effective? You got to know that if you're going to move forward. Specifically, what makes you effective when it comes to who and what surrounds you? Who brings out the best in you? Write those names down if you can. What brings out the best in you? What type of environments, what type of culture brings out the best in you? You got to recognize that in order to place yourself in those environments more often. We talked about what we can do cognitively, behaviorally, emotionally, but now we're diving into what about our surroundings cultivates confidence in our lives. So, most supported in research, building a support system. Building a support system is vital to your confidence. If you are living as an island, your confidence is going to wane. So first off, you've got to begin to build that support system. That might come in the form of your team, your coaches, your managers, your coworkers, or just your friends, your neighbors, whoever it is, perhaps your church. Many people build support systems from all different angles in their life, and all are important. The next one is use your support system. How many of us have incredible people in our life that we are too proud or whatever to lean on and use them. I think when you are competitive and you're a strong person, sometimes we think that we can't ask for help. Let me break that down right now. It's simply not true. Research shows that people who use their support system are more confident and have higher performance. Don't assume that your support system can read your mind. They can't. Begin to speak up. Lean on them. Don't think that you're going to be a burden, because if they're actually your support system, you won't be. That being said, there are times where we need extra support. And I always encourage people, please hire a professional where needed. If it means that you're going to be able to keep healthy relationships, and so that you have an outlet into your life to be able to bring some of those kind of bigger difficulties that you're walking through and begin to build those strategies into your life. Cool. Cultivate healthy relationships, caring relationships. Healthy means two-way. I have a wonderful friend, and they always say, go where the energy is and go where there's reciprocity. So a healthy relationship means that you are going to give, but you're also going to take. It's two-way. And look around your life right now, your support system. Are there any one-way relationships? Now, that's not saying that you can't be mentored and you can't mentor others, because there are absolutely relationships. I think a healthy life is one where there's people that just pour into us, as I like to say, or it is one way, and they're there to give to us. And that is healthy so long as we are also taking time to give to others. So who is it that you can mentor? Maybe it's just one person right now. Healthy means that we've got peers, we've got people mentoring us, and we are mentoring others. But in the peer segment here, that one needs to be a two-way relationship where you give and you take. And they give and they take. Caring relationships, they're positive relationships, they're two-way relationships. Cultivate those in your life. Practically pull out your calendar. When in the next 7 days are you going to either see in person 6 feet apart, or you're going to call someone that you care about that's a friend of yours, who's a positive, healthy relationship in your life? Make time for it. Prioritize it. We do it for everything that we care about. We've got to recognize that this one plays into our confidence. Build that verbal support into your life. That's the next one. Self-talk, reminders, voice memos. Wherever and however you need to get positive self-talk into your life, maybe you need to write quotes on a sticky note and put it on your mirror or on your wall. Find people around you to encourage you. Build that verbal support into your life. And the flip side of that, the barrier to the confidence, would be replaying negative, defeating thought. We got to stop it in its tracks, look at it constructively, take the lesson, and then leave it. Next one, focusing your time and efforts towards your network of confidence. So there's our network of confidence, people who build confidence in our lives, but then there are confidence bursters. Does anyone know who that is? You don't have to write their name in the chat, please do not. But every one of us has people in our life who burst our confidence. We are not confident around these people. And I want to encourage you, figure out who those people are. I often find that they are people who suck energy out of your life. And figure out, how does their involvement in your life contribute to your lack of confidence? Could you communicate this to them as a way towards peacemaking? Or are you better off just simply restructuring your time and spending less time with them? You have to decide that. There are times to heal relationships and rebuild and mend them. And then there are times to say, you know what, that was for a season. I am grateful for it. I learned from it, and I'm going to move on. So put effort towards your network of confidence, and do not waste your time worrying about confidence bursters. Your life is too short to spend time there. Leadership, I mentioned it here, mentored and mentoring. You've got people who are strong and confident. They have leadership, but they are also being a leader in some area of their life. So if you're not mentoring anyone or allowing anyone to coach you, I want to encourage you, put both of those in place in your life because you're going to be confident, more confident for it. Next one, having the ability to gather people around you. Side note, this is leadership, being able to gather people around you. People who are confident know how to gather people around them. If you have a habit of isolation, notice that. Begin to be more intentional about building great people around you. Now, I don't think that, everyone needs to be healthy by taking some time alone by themselves. That is not a bad thing. That's a very healthy thing. But there's a difference between taking time for yourself and being isolated. And when you are isolated, you are alone on an island and there is nowhere to turn. And that can be incredibly unsettling for us and our confidence will lower. So don't be an island, build people around you. And as you're doing that, if you want to learn to gather people, this is the next one. Be interested in other people. People who are interested in other people are actually more confident. It's not the people who are most interested in myself. That doesn't make me more confident. What makes me confident is actually knowing how to be interested in other people, having these healthy relationships and communities that aren't just about me. So here's a challenge for you today. The next time you speak with someone on your team or in your circle, I want you to think about something that you want to learn about them. Learn something about them before you leave that conversation that you never would have known about them if you hadn't been intentional today. You can do this by sometimes just asking 3 questions. I often find that if you want to learn about them on a personal level, asking how their family is, obviously doing this in an appropriate context, but people are part of a family. And when we know people only at a professional level, what can happen is we forget that they're human. It's one of the things I love about this whole season of Zoom is because you see kids running around the back of screens sometimes, and you're just seeing the humanity of people. And the reality is we are all human. And so learn something new about the next person you speak with on your team. Be curious. This increases your confidence. Next one about your community and what's going to build your confidence by using your community is having a variety of friendships and relationships. So some people only have one type of person in their life. They want everyone to look like them, sound like them, talk like them, do everything like them. And what happens in that is actually their confidence lowers. It does the opposite of what they're hoping for. People who have a variety of relationships, variety of viewpoints in every area, you will become more confident. You'll also become more self-aware. And people who are self-aware are more confident. So let me ask you this today, in order to do this, who's one person that you could reach out to that you don't normally reach out to? How do you do that? 1, be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. Just be genuine and ask them how they are or ask something about their life that you can learn. Be interested in the other person. Increase your awareness. This is the next one. And use your strengths in your personal community. So sometimes people will spend this excessive amount of time on our weakness. And what happens is then we don't share our strengths with our community, and then our confidence wanes. So often I see this in athletes who might graduate and then they retire, and then they find that they don't actually have an outlet for the strengths that are in them, and they want to bring them. And when we don't have anywhere to bring our strengths, our confidence will lower. When we don't have anywhere to bring our gifts, our talents, this can lead to a decline both in performance and confidence. So if you have recently transitioned out of something, maybe a job, a relationship, a team, a season, and you're trying to find your confidence in this new reality, Remember this, that your valuable attributes while you were on the last team, while you were in the last season, are still part of you and with you. So what was it that you brought to your last team? What was it that you brought to your last season? It's still in you. How can you then bring that to this season? The gift hasn't left you, the talent hasn't left you, the strength hasn't left you. So how can you begin to use those in this season? Do you even know your valuable attributes? If you have never done it, write them down. What are the things about you that make you valuable? How can you use those strengths to build your community right now? The last one is this one. It comes to community aspects and barriers to living confidently. Don't look to others for validation. People who look to someone else for validation are going to end up with low levels of confidence. You don't need people's validation in order to be who you're meant to be and live the life that you're meant to live. If you look to others to validate your life or validate your decisions, you're going to see a downward spiral of confidence. So don't look to others for validation. It's in here. If you don't have a relationship with God, I often find that I don't know how people do it without a relationship with God, because we have to look to something bigger than ourselves sometimes in order to remember our value. Last set, aspects and barriers to using confidence and using your voice. Remember, this is your inner voice, your outer voice when it comes to leadership. It comes down to this. This is what I believe. We have to value purpose over popularity. We have to value respect and living at peace with ourselves over just being liked. We must value living at peace with ourselves over just being liked. Purpose over popularity. In order to do this, if you want to use your voice, you've got to have a policy of inclusion. So as you're speaking up on behalf of people who need extra support, you've seen many WNBA, NBA players, tennis players begin to do this in this season, and I think it's awesome. You've got to bring people with you. Bring people on the journey of speaking up. Use your platform. In addition to that, an aspect of being able to use your confidence to speak up, you have to personalize the problem that you're talking about. So you can't just look at this from the perspective of statistics. You've got to know people by name. You've got to know the stories of people that are going through what you're trying to speak up about. Because the more that you personalize it, the more you will find those barriers to speaking up begin to dissipate. You've got to remember that small contributions matter, that this is about speaking up on behalf of others. And your voice, no matter how big or how small, can impact and actually change someone's life. You might be one piece of the puzzle, but without that piece, the picture is imperfect. And so we all need your voice. You've got to get that. We need your voice. Going ahead with using your voice, even when the moment doesn't feel perfect. Sometimes people wait for this perfect moment, and you know what it is? It's a massive barrier to using your voice. You wait till you know everything, till the moment is perfect. Newsflash, the perfect moment never comes. So you actually just have to pull a Nike and say, just do it. You've got to go ahead and go in the strength that you have. A lack of confidence is a barrier to a lack of action. So if you want to make a difference in a certain aspect of society, you need confidence. So good for you for taking a moment today to figure out how I do this. We're talking about action. Everything leads to action, habits, character. But it starts with a thought. Confidence is a thought. We need this confidence if we are going to act for good. So what keeps us from using our voice? We have just a few moments left, and then we're going to bring it to a close. What keeps us from using our voice? Perhaps it's fear of retaliation, or fear that we're going to lose a relationship, or fear of someone abusing power to come against us. Understand that all those things, while you think they could affect your confidence and willing to use your voice, if you are putting in place those strategies that we've talked about for the past hour of putting your value, your strength internally, not looking for it externally. You're not looking for applause external, but you find it right in here, then your confidence is going to increase and you're going to be able to stand up in even the toughest of situations. Value being respected over being liked. People who do that are more confident. Personalize the pain that you see. I want you this weekend to take a moment and sit down with someone, or maybe hop on the phone with someone who's going through a tough situation. See how they're moving through it. See how you find that when you know the person's pain, when it's personalized, it's really tough to judge. And it's really tough to do nothing in regards to speaking up for another human. Because now it's not just a problem, it's a person. You've got to personalize the problem. A hindrance to using our voice could be that we think that our piece doesn't matter. Like I said, it goes back to that leadership principle of you can lead without being the key player. Don't let that hinder you from using your voice in whatever area that you're going to speak up in. You can lead even when you're not the key player. Doesn't matter how many followers you have. It doesn't matter who is in your audience. Treat it the same, whether it's 1 or 10,000. Here's the reality. Your confidence, everything that you've gained today is actually not just for you. You might have thought this whole morning was for you, and I applaud you for valuing yourself and taking the time. But confidence and strength, it can actually be used for good when it's not just about us or our goals and our dreams. We can actually use our strength and our confidence to provide strength to others. In fact, confidence is a necessary ingredient to acting on behalf of those who need strength and support. So let me ask you this. What keeps you from using your voice? What keeps you? Are you waiting for the perfect moment? Perfect moment never comes. People's greatest regret is often, I wish I had done something sooner. So what perfect moment are you waiting on? Why wait another minute to actually become confident and speak up in an area? Be confident as you step out into the world today, and even in this weekend, in every conversation that you encounter, every email, every practice drill, every competition and big moment and small moment. Understand that the perfect moment never comes. The present moment does. And that is all we have to work with. Someone is actually waiting for you to use your confidence, whatever ounce of confidence you have. Confidence is a thought. It's a choice that you can learn, you can develop, and you can work on. Keep learning as you go. Be confident, but also continue to step into all that is in your heart and your mind to do. And I believe if you do that, you're going to live a great life. That brings us to a close. It is 10:14. As we have the last few minutes, if you have any last questions, please pop them into the chat or message me privately, which some of you have done. Just a couple invitations as we bring it to a close. I'm on Instagram at the Kelley Castle or online at kcastlehealth.com. And also for everyone here today, I have a deal for you and your company or your team. So I'm offering $750 off. That is a lot of a 6-week mental skills training program that I run. So this mental skills training program is valued at $900. I'm offering it for $150 to anyone who's been part of this Friday training lab. So If you want to register, you've got to follow at the Kelley Castle and just send me an email, kcastle@kcastlehealth.com, with total training program in the subject line. So send total training program to my email, and you can get that 6-week training program for $150, which is $750 off. And it's going to be awesome. Once you email, I'll make sure that you get access and we can get started. The next one is Friday webinars. This is actually going to be offered for free, one free webinar every Friday. It was at 9 a.m. Pacific time today. It's going to be at 12 noon every Friday starting next week. And so it's always going to be free. The link will be in my Instagram profile. So send that to your friends, your teammates, your colleagues, and it's going to be great. Next week's topic is going to be creative concentration. So many of us have had to learn how to concentrate, how to focus when our surroundings are very different. So we're going to unpack that a little bit. They're going to be exactly 1 hour long, 12 noon to 1 p.m. We're going to cover mental routines, mental rehearsal, mental toughness, and how to cultivate focus and creative concentration in our lives, in our daily lives. So lastly, if there's any way that I can come alongside you as a keynote for your team or your company, or with one-on-one performance coaching, please reach out. If there's any way that I can join you on your journey to excellence, please let me know. I look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you so much for taking time out of your week. I think time is our most valuable resource. And as you pursue excellence, not perfection, but excellence this week, be confident. You have everything that you need, and reach out if you ever want to chat. Talk to you soon. Thank you all.